Red alert. Set an intention. Go to Salon Trek.
Captain's log supplemental. Commander Chute was injured. But I want you to know, you can use logic to justify almost anything. Janeway out.
Ahoy, hoy, friends, and welcome to the Salon. I'm your host, Stan Williams, and my wormhole also deposits in many locations. Tonight, we are starting our discussion on Star Trek Voyager Season 3, and of course, continuing our thumb war, the only scientifically accurate way of monitoring, assessing, and voting on television. Before we begin, all of the podcast things. It's about 6:30. It's Thursday, and we are live on YouTube. We will be in all of the podcast places tomorrow on Fridays. We are at Salon Trek in all of the places except for Instagram. That's at the Salon Trek. Follow us everywhere, including Patreon, where for a couple bucks a month, you get included in our credits. For $5 or more, you get our bonus episodes. We have some fun ones on the way and a bunch in the can. So get excited. We are talking about Star Trek Voyager Season 3. And lest I forget, we are deeply in our Voyager era, including with Will and I on Monday evenings doing a playthrough of Star Trek Voyager Across the Unknown. We began this week. You can check that out on the channel here on YouTube at Salon Trek or on Twitch, also at Salon Trek. And we will be continuing our journey next Monday with Sector 2, which has some fun episodes included in the gameplay. So join us at 5:30 p.m. Pacific for that. All right, enough silliness. Let's beam in the crew, starting with my number one. Trevor, how you do?
Fully prepared for this meh season.
Yeah, there's some bangers and some real stankers, for sure. Overall, I think it's good. We'll have some more good stuff next week. Speaking of more good stuff, here's Matt. How are you?
I like this part of Voyager. This is like some of my favorites.
And I like this part of the Salon. Here's Krista. You're on mute, which is always a pleasant surprise. Thank you, Krista.
Because I was
How are you?
because I was coughing, and last time I coughed with the microphone on, I was scolded. I don't like any of these fucking episodes. So
Spoilers.
spoiler.
Speaking-
all over your wah.
Speaking of spoiled and feeling similar about this season, here's Will. How are you, Will?
Girl, I'm fine. This rewatch was not. This has been this last couple of weeks have been kind of shitty for me personally, and this Star Trek normally brings me out of it, but this made it worse. I was so over it. I was like, the fuck is half of these episodes? Anyway, we'll get into it. We'll get into it. I don't want to do this.
I like the second half.
now.
Yeah. And speaking of
Sure.
making things worse, only when they deserve it. Here's Joanne. How are you?
I'm well. At least I had something to watch while I had food poisoning.
Skinny.
He had vacuole problems.
Oh,
I mean, who hasn't?
so many. Let's do this. Let's set an intention.
This is obvious, but don't forget to set an intention when you light it, or you're just going to be wasting the wax.
I'm all about it. To set an intention tonight, I thought it would be fun if we paid homage to Tom and Harry finally getting to fulfill their prison fantasy in the Chute. I'd like to know who in the Trek universe you'd drop down that chute. Who do you think would make the best cellmates? I'm not even going to pretend as I start us off that I'm doing this for any reasons other than those that are obvious. Caleb Mayer and Travis Mayweather.
Problematic gay alert.
I think I broke Stan with that answer. I meant what I said, and I said what I meant. Let's go around the room. William. Who do you think would make the best cellmates for any reason?
Well, this is good. This covers both of the, I'm assuming, much of the selections. I mean, Ethan Peck is Spock. I mean, A, I'm getting out of there. B, I'm getting in there.
Problematic gay alert.
Fair enough. Yeah, no notes. Joanne?
I couldn't think of anybody other than the obvious ones. So I picked Miles O'Brien and Julian Bashir.
Oh.
You thirsty bitch.
In the arms of the angel.
I love that we're assuming that is one of the meanings that she had behind. Let's go to Matt. Matt, I don't know if you can save us or not. You're not required to. It's not. No pressure.
I mean, if I want to be serious, like, oh no, he would be able to do it. Actually, he would.
Problematic gay alert.
My original answer was just going to be the hot Vulcan twink from Academy, but I forget what his name is.
And who?
Bobby, thank you. And
I think himself is what he's saying.
You just want to watch Bobby in prison?
I'm going to prison with him. Like I am, or
that's what I used to do.
Yeah, or what's his twin ensign in Voyager, Good Shepherd, ensign.
Oh, the guy that you're. Yes.
Yeah, that would be the other one.
Krista hasn't met him yet. But speaking of Krista, who are you dropping down the chute?
Yeah, I couldn't really think of anybody, and I pretty much elected to reject the question.
Okay.
So that I could insert my own.
This is my favorite thing to ever happen.
It's all of our favorite segment. We love it when this happens.
I'm gonna do my own question because I can't fantasize about jail. It's not.
That's fair.
It's not a thing.
I understand.
For me. That's not my particular kink. So what I'd like for it to be instead is who would I send back to Woodstock? And who I would send is Troy, Crusher, Janeway, Giorgio, Nala, Kira, Jadzia, and then from Woodstock, when they're good and high, then I would put them on a shuttle and take them to Ibiza, give them some drugs, and let them just lose control for an entire week. Get Janeway out of that FDLS hairstyle she's got going on. Get everybody out of the expectation of control. Get naked, get crazy, get whoregrass, whatever the fuck they are.
Krista, this counts.
Problematic gay alert.
That's what I'm saying. Woodstock hippie jail is like just a bunch of clowns going, it's all gonna be fine. It's all gonna be fine. That's not like power moves on a dance floor in Ibiza while just zoning your balls off. I want to see that. And I want all of those female characters. I don't want Bronte, I don't want Dickens or Shakespeare or any of Moby fucking Dick. I don't want any of that shit. I just want crazy.
They might find a Moby Dick.
Wild.
In fact, it sounds like there's no dick at all involved in this trip.
Listen, it's a free-for-all is what I'm saying. There's no judgment. There's no shame. They can do whatever it is that they want to do. And I did say that Giorgio was going to be there. So
now I've never said these words. Stan, save us.
I also took this in a very different direction than everybody else because apparently I misunderstood the assignment this week. And I wrote down Kira and Ducat so she could kill him.
That's totally permissible. That you did not misunderstand the question. You just didn't make it horny like the rest of us did. It's fine.
I think she'd
get off on it.
I think they'd both in very different ways get off on it. And then he would be off.
It's fine. I love it.
Excellent. As always, the intentions are set and this was a doozy. Love it. Now it's time for a Salon thumb war. Like we said, we're starting season 3. It starts a little rough. There's going to be some fun stuff. We'll get into it. Reminder for anybody joining us new, the Thumb War. Trevor will read us a description or the synopsis of an episode. He did not write it. It's probably going to be terrible. And then we will discuss and vote with our thumbs up, down, or sideways. So, Trevor, let's launch this Thumb War.
Star Trek Voyager Season 3, Episode 1. Basics, Part 2. Marooned by the Kazon on a primitive planet, Captain Janeway and her crew fight for their lives against hostile natives and the elements. Elsewhere, Kala prepares to attack the Delta Quadrant.
Elsewhere.
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice.
Meanwhile.
Stan, why don't you kick off this one for us?
That meanwhile is so apt because this episode took me down a rabbit hole, y'all. And I'd like you to go on this journey with me. And I promise it's going to take a minute, but it won't be a 75-year journey. Don't worry. If you are as chronically online as I am, you may have noticed today a trend of folks posting their favorite non-Star Trek performance of a Star Trek actor. Joanne contributed. Some others did. Admiral Funnest Frontier, who's a follower of ours. Clone Star Podcast, also a follower of ours. Really fun stuff. Trek actors have been in a bunch of things. So when I saw this, my mind naturally went to and immediately went to the cult classic 1987 film Masters of the Universe, which, as I'm sure you all know, stars little-known Courtney Cox, who would go on to star in a small project called Friends. You may know it as the knockoff of Living Single. But also in this movie was our boy Tom Paris, Robert Duncan McNeil, and a couple of other Trek alum. Frank Langella, the OG Skeletor, was, of course, Minister Jaro on Deep Space Nine. Evelyn, who, by the way, I love every version of Evelyn. I am cautiously, curiously optimistic about what Alison Brie is going to do with the character later this year. And as I was pulling this up for the socials, I thought to myself, you know what I should do? I should look up this guy in the middle. I don't recognize him, but a bunch of people do a bunch of things. I wonder who he is. That's First Maj Culla, y'all. He was in Masters of the Universe with Tom Paris and a bunch of other cool shit. I went down this rabbit hole today. He is a prolific actor, voice actor. He has been in a bunch of shit, including one of my favorites, The Chipmunk Adventure. He voiced Klaus. He's been in a bunch of cool shit. And as you saw in Masters of the Universe, he is a stage combat expert and funnest of fun facts. He trained Ellen Barkin to do whip work. He trained Angelica Houston to do whip work. And he trained Michelle Pfeiffer for her iconic performance as Catwoman and her whip work in Batman Returns. So in honor of his last appearance in Star Trek Voyager, Anthony DeLongis as Maj Culla. This episode was fine. I think this is one of the better second halves of two-parters that exist, but it still falls into one of those, like, okay, you got to wrap things up, and it's not always interesting. The stuff on the planet bores me to tears, although I do appreciate Starfleet figuring things out with a primitive culture that I don't think fell into too many of Voyager's want to fall into. No, it did, but it wasn't as anyway. Lon Suter had a wonderful farewell. I thought he did an excellent performance. The Doctor was really cool. Seska's performance was super fun. Seska and the Doctor, I could watch them verbally sparring for days. So R.I.P. Seska, R.I.P. Lon Suter. Those are my initial thoughts on this episode. Thank you for joining me on that journey. Matt?
Why is it so easy to steal a Federation starship? It does get to the point where I'm like, are there no safeguards? Do we have no, like, does it just walk on the bridge and, like, computer start the engines, we're going? Like, I don't know. This one bothered me on a lot of levels, personally. Like, they got trapped down there? Really? Seska's still, really? You impregnate? And, oh, this is your portrayal of these, like, primitive humanoids? Like, I don't know. And
Also,
Choute's problematic everything in this, like, oh, you got the only Indian that doesn't know how to start a fire with wood. Like, okay.
Yeah. Also, like, no one hid in the conduits. No one figured out a hide. Like, literally everyone on this ship is useless who isn't in the title credits. Like, and even then, it's a roll of the dice. Like, it just felt a little. Obviously, it plotted for plot reasons, but I was a little frustrated that there wasn't like a mini resistance on Voyager. That like, if you have to figure out a way that Seska planted a virus and she was able to override the command codes, whatever. But like, it would have been more fun, I think, if it weren't just Suter and the Doctor and Tom showing up in a shuttle with a bunch of Talaxians. I don't know. It was a little. This would only work if it was a season-long arc kind of thing, and I'm glad it wasn't because it didn't work anyway. Yeah. Krista?
I was just going to say, talk about a problematic baby. Like, I mean, seriously, got a problematic baby. You're pregnant. That's the first problem. There's an episode. Second episode is baby's born, but we've got double babies and double ships and double crews and double everything. Now you're double problematic baby. Now we're down on a desolate Arizona and we can't produce milk. I don't know. We can't. It's problematic baby alert. I mean, that I need for that baby to be in Academy's second season. Like, just to let me know that baby didn't grow up to be a serial killer.
Oh, here's the thing.
Oh, you're talking about.
To see her. She ages very quickly.
Spoilers. I think Krista was talking about Maj Kulla's.
No, I'm not talking about Seska's baby. That's
the other one. Okay,
it's about the Wildman's baby.
The actual Voyager baby.
Yeah.
Oh, get ready then. Yeah, Matt's right.
Did they ever explain that?
Her dad's species ages faster.
Sitcom aging in the Delta Quadrant.
Right.
Yeah. This is like you could tell like that they hadn't written this finale before when they wrote the first part. Like they kind of had an idea. It's kind of got that, where Best of Both Worlds kind of, they didn't know how it was going to end and they had to kind of figure it out afterwards. This has the problem where they're like, oh, we wrote this in. Well, we kind of can just it just like they threw it away. Like it wasn't interesting. Like them being stranded is interesting. It's like, it's just like, it just felt like it was housekeeping. It was like, okay, we have to clean this up. Like none of it was like, oh, an interesting ending to this. Like the stuff with Suter was interesting. Like I'm always disappointed he was gone. I'm kind of disappointed that Seska got killed. Like there should have been like, the Voyager, someone from the Voyager crew gets executed or something. Like the stakes are low. Again, Voyager, no stakes. Everyone's vegan.
Not the Hogan erasure. He died on the planet.
Yeah. But I'm saying more like they execute like half the crew. Like there needs to be more like in terms of how vicious the Kazon are in taking the ship, and like how vicious they are with Seska in charge. There's just not enough like building of the conflict for any resolution to happen that doesn't just feel like just quickly, easily tying up loose ends.
So it's kind of like when Chute saved the woman from the water or the quicksand or whatever the fuck.
She should have died. She should have died.
No, but the best part is that he walks from one stone to another stone and grabs her, and then he walks from one stone back over to the other stone. Like literally, those were the stakes. Those were the stakes. The rocks were there. unimpeded, absolutely available for use.
Lady who lives on volcanically active planet needs strange man to save her from lava.
Not just strange man who possesses the power of fire.
Right.
The shit with the natives was stupid. Anyway,
I loathe it.
It really did not need the natives whatsoever. Like, you could have taken them away and it's just fight for their lives on this barren, inhospitable planet. Like, we didn't need.
Right.
Also, there are clearly mammal-eating monsters living in caves nearby. Like, what is the likelihood that these mammals ever evolved to the point where, like, there can't be people and dinosaurs? Like, pick one.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I resent that we lost Suter and Seska and we got to keep Neelix. I need to talk to their agents. Like, do a better job.
Norman has a good point. The stuff I know about this episode, Norman has it in the chat that she didn't know that she was going to get killed until like the day she was supposed to film that scene. It was in the script she had gotten the baby died and she got kind of put on a shuttle and sent off into space. So they kind of like just said, go away. But the baby died. But then they vetoed it last minute and then the producers did. And then they wrote it.
God forbid they do a bold choice.
God forbid, right?
An escape pod opening and Seska emerging on the planet after Voyager had left would have been the ultimate like victory for Seska. Like, fuck off, I'm doing like I'm fine. Like, I'm gonna make this work. Kind of anyway, it would have been a great Seska move, but instead she died because the planet because the attack electrocuted the ship. Anyway.
And it knocked everyone out, but didn't kill the baby.
Right. So, well, the baby was on a couch, and the couch didn't conduct electricity. I'm
sure. Not near a console.
Cushions.
Right.
Magical cushions.
Not through the rock consoles.
They put her in a bathtub and put a mattress over it, like you do in a. Anyway, show me your thumbs.
I want to say a thumb, but I think it's going to be down.
See, the ship landed, so I have to say at least
It landed twice.
We'll take this all the way down to the ground.
Also, hot take: if he wasn't who he was, Maj Kula could get it.
Sure. 1,000%, especially as Sergeant Blade in Masters of the Universe. By the way, I'm sure it was already happening, but my gay awakening, Dolph Lundgren and Anthony DeLongis in that movie. Hello. Anyway.
Yeah. I'm just gonna let that one sit there. It counts, but it's gonna have the reverence it deserves.
Okay. Season 3, episode 2. What I've been having all day. Flashback. To help Tuvok battle a debilitating childhood memory, Captain Janeway enters a mind meld with him, which transports them to the USS Excelsior with Captain Sulu in command.
That's absolutely not what happened.
It's not even close. I mean, all of those words are accurate and representative of something that happens in the episode. But anywho, Will, why don't you start this one for us?
Yeah. This episode starts interesting, where it's like, oh, we've got this kind of thing happening where he's having this traumatic thing, which with Tuvok, and which I a little at this point like is such a tired thing that Vulcan having traumatic thing, we go into pacify, that it's a little old hat at this point. I always forget the conclusion to this episode. I watch it and for some reason I must black it out because it's so fucking stupid that like, oh, it's this weird parasite that does this. It's stupid. Like it's like it reminds me like when you're a little kid and you're sick and you have a dream about going down a slide. Does anyone have this? Like where you're like sick and you have this feeling of going down a slide, like a water slide or on a roller coaster. Anyway, it just reminds me of that. It's fine. It's dumb. It's kind of, I think this was like the 30th anniversary episode, I think. Is that right?
Yeah.
That little girl is just stupid. And it could have been that this is something that he's working through, or like this idea that like maybe they deal with this in another way, whatever. It's not, the conclusion of this is kind of dumb. Yes, it's Voyage Fan Films is right. This is like our first real, like, DS9 had kind of their fan episode. We've got another kind of fan episode. I'll give it for what it is. It was nice to see George Takei as Sulu again on the bridge and have Rand on the bridge. I like it. It's fun how it ties into episode 6. But like overall, it's just the ending ruins this episode so much for me. Take it away, everyone else.
It was cool to see what they did, what the Excelsior was doing, like during the movie before we actually see them. That was about it. For me.
I really struggle with bringing Grace back to play Rand, make her a commander, do all of the, she's first officer, comms officer, all the things. Like, they're giving Grace her flowers after her horrible experience on the original series. They brought her back in a couple of films too, but very sort of off to the side. So they bring her back as this guest star for this episode. And at the very first opportunity, they decide, oh, we need a uniform. We could steal hers and have it dwarf Kate Mulgrew to highlight the fact that Grace is larger than... Like, what are we doing? Like,
see, I honestly thought that was just it's just that's what she looks like in that uniform because it's so bulky. Like, I thought it was
no one else looks like that in that uniform.
I guess.
Like they couldn't just open someone's closet and put on a uniform. Like, it had to be ginormous on Kate because Kate is a significantly smaller person than Grace was at the time. To me, it's not even dancing on fat phobia. Like, it's kind of gross. It really bothers me, particularly given Grace's experience in 60s Trek, which, if you haven't read Dana's book, read it, then watch our interview with Dana Visitor discussing Open a Channel, a women's Trek. But it just bothers the fuck out of me. And I actually don't mind the episode. I'm not a huge fan of the whole, like, oh, Tuvok's had this thing in his brain for 80 years and now it's emerging. That's a little but DS9 did it better. But inserting people in a previous episode / film is really fun. And for that, I forgive a lot of silly mistakes. But putting Kate Mulgrew in an oversized uniform was not a mistake. That was a choice. Yeah. And it was kind of fucked up.
And they could have just had her in a uniform that fit her properly. And like, barely anybody would notice it. Don't address it. This is the future. Right. Fashion, like, shit tightens and cinches or whatever.
The thing is, guys, I love that you guys are going so deep. They literally only did that, I guarantee, because they wanted to make the joke about, well, I figured asking a female officer for her clothes would make a, like, that one line is the only reason that they probably even gave.
But they're standing.
Your point is right. I can firmly believe that they just wanted a bit.
They're standing in a room where 6 people share quarters. There's another uniform in there. Like, I promise you didn't have to knock a lady out.
Is there not a replicator? Is there
not in Tuvok's brain? That's the only saving grace to this for me, is that it's just a memory that's getting stuck with. It wasn't actual time travel, at least.
I gotta be honest, I thought this episode's fun, and in the way that, like, I like the end of Picard. It's all fan service, but I'm like, you know what? I'm eating it up. Because...
And Benji, I don't know if you're yelling at me or agreeing with me, but, like, yeah, it's a dream. So why the fuck is she in giant pajamas? Like, what's going on? Why? Like, it doesn't make sense.
They should have gone the opposite route. They should have made her balloon up.
It's rude as fuck to the actress. It's just rude. Okay, he's agreeing with me. Thank you.
Violet.
Yeah.
Just go in the opposite direction. Make it very surreal. It was fucked up.
What if she was a clown torturing Harry Kim? No.
Thumbs.
Any other thoughts?
I like it.
George Takei, I'll give it a side, but
it's like a cycle.
Not unlike George himself.
We get an extension class again. And we get to see
Lonely Island, my friend. Lonely Island.
Oh, I do also want to say I love that they did give that subtle nod to, oh yeah, Tuvok was definitely on the Excelsior, not the Enterprise B, when we see him in Generations, which has already happened. Like it did have that little like tongue-in-cheek, like, well,
Tuvok and human Tim Russ, totally different people.
Is this the one where he sort of blames Ponfar too? Like, I went into Ponfar.
That's next
and
week.
took a wife. Yeah.
Who hasn't blamed Ponfar? It's my excuse for everything. Okay, so not unlike George Takei himself, Flashback was aside. Season 3 episode.
Oh my!
Season. I don't know this for a fact. I'm just. Anyway, season 3, episode 3, The Chute. Lieutenant Paris and Kim. I don't know why now he's not even an ensign. Now he's just Kim. Lieutenant Paris and Kim are suspected of being members of the Open Sky terrorist group, and Neelix is asked to use his ship on a special mission. I'll kick this one off, mostly because that's quite possibly the worst Google description ever, with the exception
Who's
of
Kim? Who's this bitch Kim?
Two weeks ago. With the 2 weeks ago, where Kess's reproduction was a problem for Neelix, but that's a pretty bad one. I like the idea of this episode. I feel like it was too soon. If this episode had played out in like season 6, and they had been best friends for 5.5 years, but like it just feels like they never got episodes together, and then all of a sudden, hey, remember that scene where we went on a double date? You're my best friend, and I almost killed you, and now I feel terrible. And by the way, we'll probably never talk about this again. Like, either talk about this for the rest of their friendship during the next 7 years or next 4.5 years, or make this happen later where their relationship is strained and you feel, because of the fact that they have built such a relationship. It happening when it happens is just sort of a meh. The weird ass desire for Voyager to always start with people in prison, like it's just buckle up, Krista, because like you got 4 more years of people waking up in a cell, and you're like, how did this happen?
Or a cave.
Or a cave. And sometimes there's a cell in a cave, which is woo. I don't hate this episode. I don't hate the acting choices that Garrett and Robbie made. I love that they got this little playground to play in, but it just felt too soon, and there wasn't enough material there to make it as emotionally impactful as I wish it had been. I will give this episode credit, though, for doing something that terrified the fuck out of me, which was Harry finally getting to the top and like wiping the window clean and seeing that he's just in the middle of fucking nowhere and just drifting through space. Like that image, I didn't rewatch this episode for spoiler alert for this Thumb War, but that scene lives rent free in my head. Like that is terrifying to me. Also, this season's length of Harry's hair falling in his face, kind of sweaty, does it for me in a way that I can't quite describe.
Problematic gay alert.
Just gonna say. Who else has thoughts about The Chute?
Will?
Yeah, I mean, the performances are fine. Like, I think given how little both Tom and Harry have kind of had, respective of everyone else in the cast, I think it's a fine episode for both of them. I do get a little bored of it because even by 96, it's a little like, okay, 2 guys trapped in prison, whatever. Like, I read this beaten it gay novel in class once. Like, I get it, but like it's fine. I get your point that it should have been later, but I don't know. I think this show suffers from the reset button in a way that the other shows don't, because these people, the things that these characters go through mean nothing to them character-wise throughout the run of the show. Like, this should have been a huge moment for both of them where this is the reason that they're friends, is because they went through this horrible, traumatic thing together. And this is why they're best friends. But this episode assumes that they're already best friends, where they haven't really shared that much screen time. Like, they've kind of been around each other, but you never met. You don't see them together much, and they have a few interactions. But it's Yeah, it's interesting, but I did find myself kind of bored by the end of it, where it was like the episode was paced kind of poorly, where it's like, oh, new setback, new setback, new setback, and then I just feel like it kind of ended. But yeah, not a huge fan of this one. As a whole, as a product of an episode, like I feel like we've seen this in every series prior, but I think the acting is fine. I enjoyed kind of watching Harry really go through it and deal with his friend being a fucking mess and everything. So good on that point. I'm just like, knowing that we get about 75 more prison related episodes in this show, it just feels like an ominous portent of future events. So yeah, agreed, Norman. It's Garrett Wang's best acting, which, never mind. Few and far between for him, but yeah.
The bar wasn't high. Yeah, but it is well done.
It gave me vague the Gambit vibes.
A little bit.
How dare you?
The Gambit being better, but
It's okay.
like, I'm just
Carry on.
saying that, like, sometimes with these episodes, I'm watching them and I'm going, oh, okay, there's so much redoing.
Yeah.
There's so much sort of cannibalizing previous.
I've never liked this episode. I don't know why. It just never sat well with me. It never like did it. On rewatch, I liked Janeway better in it. But I was like, there's just something about this episode that just I'm like,
Well, there is something a little jarring about, oh, remember Neelix has a ship? Like,
yeah.
wait, what? That's just been sitting in the docking bay for 2.5 years.
And
so
like,
we dust it off, use it, and then we'll never see it again. Well, we will
like,
once.
well, we see it. Yeah. Like, why? What, does that fit? Like, wasn't he living on it? Is that like
Smacks the top of Voyager? This bitch fits so many things.
Auxiliary craft. This
lube it up.
We're gonna put a bunch of Type 9s, 2 Type 2s at least, Neelix's shuttle. Spoiler alert for 2 weeks from now, a whole bunch of Borg bullshit. This little Intrepid shit can pack it in.
It's like a TARDIS. Or Matt.
I was just gonna say I relate to the
Problematic gay alert.
And the thumbs for this episode.
Cheers, my friend.
Only for that.
It is a unanimous sideways.
Yeah.
I love it when that happens.
Just like Harry.
Just like Harry, aside. No, I think Harry's a verse bottom. Season 3 episode. You don't think?
We'll talk. This is not.
Stop the show. This is what we're doing now.
Go through every character. There, yeah.
You're right. He's probably a top.
No, I think he says verse bottom, but really he's a bottom, and he'll top if he has to.
Yeah.
Him and everybody in LA.
No, I think the he and Tom relationship. I think he's the top.
I don't.
Are you?
I think
What? No.
Tom's a bottom.
No. Tom is a selfish top. He's there. He'll run into you. He'll blast you for 2.5 minutes, get his nut, and leaves. He doesn't care about you.
I think he's a bottom for Harry.
Can we please put Benji's up there? Because that was good.
I'm sick. Oh my god! Put that on a shirt, girl. We need to make some merch and sell that at STLV.
Oh god, yes.
Harry. Make the little dick a delta.
Mm-hmm.
Why I gotta be little?
Well.
Season 3, episode 4, The Swarm. The Voyager's crew fights off alien vessels. A holodeck accident causes the Doctor's memory circuits to fail. Lieutenant Paris is severely injured.
Oh God.
I think, I believe firmly that Stan should kick this one off.
I don't recall it being a holodeck accident. It was that, like,
It's not.
he was on too long and it started to like degrade.
Like what happens if you leave your TV on too long, it becomes sentient and then fails.
Yes.
I hate it when that happens.
Or it asks you, are you still watching?
Are you?
And then that's where you cut. That's where you cut to Tom, Dick, and Harry. Yeah,
it's like, man, I forget the comedian that made this joke, so apologies for not crediting properly. But oh wait, never mind. I'm going to purposefully not credit this person because she's a monster. You can figure it out from that. But made the comment about the flushing toilet automatically. I'll decide when I'm done. That's how I feel about that. Are you still watching? This episode, I think there's some wonderful performances, particularly Jennifer Lean. Like we've danced around this season being a little rough. I think this season has some of her best performances. Some wonky ass episodes that have incredible performances from her. This one, I thought her care for the Doctor was lovely. Even though I Voyager is rough for me in this of like young women caring for the Doctor and like this old man being weird. He at least wasn't bad with Kes because Robert Picardo does an excellent performance in this. ×2, seeing Zimmerman, a fun asshole. That was a cute play on Star Trek actors getting to play not themselves. So that was fun. And will they get out of this mess of it all? How lucky that this was the one time that the ship was attacked that they didn't need a doctor. How incredible that happenstance. The plot armor be plot armoring a lot of things in this episode, but it was fun, and for Kes, I enjoyed it.
I think that the Doctor should have had to be reset every once in a while. I think it would be more fun to watch Robert Picardo like make it a big thing, but like, well, gotta wipe him, and like he doesn't remember, and then he has to like figure that out. I mean, again, that's
making him an asshole again would be kind of interesting.
Yeah, like.
Also, they could have done it, but like sometimes bits get left. Like somebody walks in and he's like, "Hello, Captain," and she's like, "How do you know who I am? We just reset you." And he's like, "I don't know." Like weird, random memory fragments remain, but like he's sometimes a jerk and sometimes not. Anyway, let's rewrite. Wow, I was gonna say rewrite Voyager, but my R's and W's did that.
I think this episode, the kind of the plot of the swarm, I think is kind of unnecessary. I think it does kind of a disservice to the Doctor, where him going through this is kind of relegated to B plot, and like what that means. Like I think him and Kes's relationship is more interesting to me this time around. No offense to Robert Picardo, I do find the Doctor incredibly grating, and even as the series goes on, I feel like he gets worse. But I find that Jennifer Lean softens his character for me. Kes does, in that I think there's her acceptance of him as a person. This kind of is her being like, being naive in that way because she's only technically 2 years old. That her kind of acceptance of him is like childlike in a kind of an interesting way, and that the idea that he is starting to fail because he is extended past his program is interesting. And I think this could have been handled with more compassion for that character. And it does feel like that the plot of the swarm is more important to the show than the character of the Doctor. And I think as we get later on, I think it becomes kind of a recycled data analogy where it's like, this thing that should not be a person finding personhood, where I think the Doctor is interesting because this is a program, a hologram, who has is through its time on Voyager and through kind of the necessity of this program has become more than their original intention, and what that means for them, and the idea that the Doctor cares for them is that he like does the most human act of healing them and is in fact not human and not technically alive. Then what does that mean for him? Like, there's so much nuance this character could have been approached with that I think they just slapped kind of a date, because every show has their like the character that tries to, the alien that's trying to become human, how they view humanity. And I think they do a disservice here, because I think this extends further past like Data even, because Data is corporeal. At this point in the show, he's trapped in this area. He's a bird in a cage, essentially. And what does that mean for him? Like, and it'd be interesting to have Kess that be the foil for them where they talk about this. But instead, the Doctor kind of gets relegated to this weird things later on in the series. But like, I found myself kind of, this raised a lot of questions that weren't related to the episode, where I was like, this character's interesting. And I think it gets handled better in Academy with him, specifically with the stuff with Sam. I think this gets handled much better. But like, I don't know. It raised questions about what their intentions with this character was, and maybe they didn't have the kind of, it's like they didn't need this other plot. I just felt like they could have really dug into this idea of the Doctor, but maybe in 96, 97, that wasn't. They maybe didn't have the tools as writers to kind of do that. I don't know. It was very interesting, because I keep thinking we need to do a reboot of Voyager. Because like I feel like some of these things that Voyager's kind of asking could be handled better now.
Well, because instead of answering or exploring all of the questions you just asked, they decided to stop and think, what if we gave him a dick? Like, it doesn't there's too much. I don't know, maybe one of the writers didn't have one and they wanted to know what it was like. I don't understand the fascination with him wanting to understand and explore humanity. And they could have done it in a way, you're right, that Data couldn't, or wouldn't, or didn't. And instead,
he has different obstacles. Because Data can't feel emotion.
Right.
But the Doctor can. Like, the Doctor is programmed with a certain level of like emotion and other things. But he lacks the kind of tangibility and kind of accessibility that Data has. Because the Doctor's... For lack of an analogy, he's kind of disabled. He's trapped there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, what does that mean for him?
Also,
like,
what a lost opportunity. Yeah, what a lost opportunity to translate all of his relationship questions later on into sex. What if he was exploring relationships but couldn't have sex because he wasn't designed to fulfill? Like, he's missing sexual organs. So what if he had to figure it out another way? Like, what if he there was just something missing, you're right, from all of the fantastic questions they began with and then just sort of abandoned, which is frustrating.
And I also think the plot of the Swarm isn't a good enough foil as well. Anyway, sorry, Matt, go ahead.
Well, no, I was just gonna say, like, all of that I agree, and also they fail at making him a program too. Like, they constantly are like, he's more than a program. He's a hollow character, but also he can be duplicated, kind of. But then we have to sacrifice this diagnostic program because we can't just Control-C, Control-V. Like, and it doesn't. None of it makes sense. And it's like, unfortunately, it's one of those Voyager things where it's like they're going on a trajectory on a good one, and then they just constantly are just hoisting left and right and never hit the mark.
Yeah.
And I think that's what, like, because I actually love the concept of like the Swarm. I think that's a great concept. I think it was poorly executed. Like, there's a bunch of tiny ships. You can't just like, it's not one ship you can overpower. It's like these things can just swarm around you, and like, you know, phasers aren't going to help, and you can't just target them with a torpedo. Like, what are we going to do?
Until phasers do help.
Until phasers do help, right?
You shoot it longer.
It's just this whole episode to me just is like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
It's just a swarm. It's just a swarm. Show me your thumbs.
It's a thumbs up just for Kess. for me.
That's
But
what makes her a thumb sideways.
That's something I will never
She's
say.
lovely. I love Jennifer Lean's voice. It's just I could listen to her talk on the show all day.
Also, fun plug for Will and I playing Star Trek Voyager Across the Unknown. It's us doing the voices of the characters.
They
True
get
story.
worse. They're nothing. They're terrible. But come listen to that.
In a wonderful way. They're terrible in a wonderful way.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. I love
my
it.
sultry Jennifer Lean is a mess.
Mm-hmm.
Doctor.
Season 3, episode 5. False prophets. Chakotay and Paris thwart two Ferengi who are passing themselves off as demigods to the inhabitants of an impoverished planet. I'm sad that it makes no reference to the fact that we've seen these two Ferengi before. It was in season 3, episode 6 or 7 or 8-ish of TNG. I am always happy when we see characters that we thought were never going to be seen again, and we see them here. But Joanne, please tell me your thoughts about these false prophets.
Well, I also thought, that was a great little callback to, what was it, The Price? I think is the episode you're looking for, which is one of my favorite TNG episodes. I love Troy having sexy time episodes. Yeah. So because I was like, oh, these are the Ferengi from TNG, and I thought it was an interesting, concept. But watching it, I'm like, how dumb are these people? Like, did they not have any values? Did they not have any government that a dude with a replicator could just, like, I don't know, transform them, and not for the better? Like, no, you're gonna give all of the stuff to us. I don't know. I thought that was not well thought out. But I did appreciate just kind of them having sort of free reign on this planet, even though I typically don't like the Ferengi kind of centric episodes. But I thought that this was interesting. But the other thing that got me is kind of at the end. And actually, I think it's a little theme that kind of runs through these next few episodes. But for me, this was a command error from Catherine Janeway. Why was she so concerned? I mean, I get it. Okay. But I mean, they weren't, except for the women they had there, they weren't just doing extraordinarily awful things to these people, right? They all had trades or quote unquote kind of hustles or professions. They were, not being, I don't think, any physical sort of violence placed on them. And like Tuvok said, the Ferengi are not members of the Federation and are not bound by the Prime Directive. So your opportunity, you're worried about keeping these two Ferengi who are not quote unquote under your jurisdiction from getting their materials. You're more worried about that than getting in the wormhole to the Alpha Quadrant. Like the dilly-dally back and forth. Like, if I had been on Voyager and saw that go down, baby, it would have been full on mutiny. Like, Janeway, do you need some more fucking coffee? Like, are you serious? Did we just squander our opportunity to get somewhere in the Alpha Quadrant because you're worried about two bitch ass Ferengi? No, I was flabbergasted. Like, nobody checked her on that. Like, this was the right thing to do. Are you serious? Two Ferengi with a replicator and a raggedy shuttle. No. Crazy. That was banana sandwich. To me. I was screaming at the TV. Mind you, I was also delusional with food. But
Joanne, as always, is right. I like a rare miss for Captain Janeway, because I agree the choice to have them just like somewhat benevolent, somewhat whatever, like the MacGuffin of the replicator is always interesting, how they use it. Like, they could have been subjugating these people, and instead they were just like having women rub their ears and make gold look like ears. Like it.
I mean, be clear, that was subjugation, but the
Yeah,
rest of them, they were
just,
teaching them how to be hustlers. Like,
yes.
Okay.
And I put this in the chat. They were about to revolt on their own anyway. Like the Voyager crew was kind of the catalyst, but it was brewing, obviously. Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened right then and there. So I agree. They could have made it a little more ominous, because I think that culture was a little too advanced for the replicator to subjugate them in the way that it did. So it was just odd. And on the, well, I could keep going, but whatever. The only plus side on this episode that I'll get, well, whatever. There was some fun shit happening, but this was one of those rare episodes where I didn't mind something from the Alpha Quadrant just randomly being there, because the wormhole was already established to bounce around. It was like, oh, how interesting. So like this was one of the very few of very many times something from the Alpha Quadrant just happened to be right in their path, that aspect of it didn't bother me.
We have to say the number one biggest part of this episode, though. We get Leslie Jordan playing a Ferengi, which is completely delightful. And I'm sorry, it's like that saves the entire episode for me. None of it makes sense. Like it's such a fun episode. Like Janeway, it also tips you off on seeing how Janeway's mind works, that we see later on when she gets hyper fixated on something, and she's like, no, this is unjust, I have to fix this. And she just, Voyager crew be damned, she has to get through to like whatever it is, you know, like we see it, well, I won't ruin anything, but like
her Starfleet ethics take over.
Yeah, it's like you double down, or lack of ethics too, of like, you know, there's a time when another ship is involved, and
stop dancing around your spoilers for Krista. Let's focus on this episode to make your point.
But no, it's I think it's a fun episode. I think it was great to bring them back. It was great how they did it, and Janeway every once in a while just goes fucking insane, and I relate to that.
Show me your.
Interesting that the Ferengi were entirely unapologetic, and they were like, our way is the way to go. And Janeway simultaneously was also unapologetic and the only way to go. And there's judgments going back and forth, and it was kind of prescient in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Show me your thumbs for false prophets.
I like the Ferengi.
Oh no, oh god, hang on, math hurts.
It fucking sucks. Give it more thumbs down if I could.
It's actually an up. Somehow it lands it up.
Our first up of the season is false prophets. Okay.
I'm not in charge of math. I don't do the math.
It's mostly because of the naked underboobs and the specific shot that got the most underboob.
That will do it.
That's why I don't like math. Underboobs. You could be right. Who am I? Season 3, episode 6. Remember, dreams of we're gonna take 2. Dreams of a forbidden love affair haunt Lieutenant Torres after the Voyager crew picks up Inaran passengers. And if I had a love affair with that man, I too would be having dreams about it for a very long, long time.
Please haunt me.
In all the ways. Joanne, do you have any thoughts about Remember? She's fanning herself. She's like, hang on, I have the vapors.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. No, like, oh. I remember well. One, also kind of a very TNG reminiscent one with the Yulians violations, right? And I got kind of tickled because I think they thought they were doing a little better with the consent question and less violating with this one, but they really didn't. But that's neither here nor there. But I enjoyed this. I thought it was hilarious too that, Balana told Chakotay, about her sexy dreams and just, and the fact that they were both into that conversation. And I'm like, okay, Chakotay. So that was an interesting sort of thing. But I love this whole um sort of moral quandary that Balana goes through about, like first, why is she experiencing this and it's driving her, knocking her out and that sort of thing. But then at the end, she's just like, oh, I've been, seeing it through her eyes and they, unalived a whole segment of their population. And I won't say the other word because we might get a strike, right? But, and nobody remembers this. So there were really complex questions, right, about history and our responsibility and our duty um, to keep stories alive and to never forget, and and all of these things and the implications of that long term. With that, I think they did really well. Even though I do find it bizarre that like there's nobody who kind of remembers that. Like, how old was that woman? She didn't look that old. Was that the Sub Rosa grandmother?
It looked like it. It did look like Nana.
It was
I was
Nana?
like, Nana, is that you?
Yes, Nana.
So I'm like, if that was Nana, I'm like, you get it on in every iteration of this franchise.
Nana be fucking.
Nana be turning it out from the candle ghost to now the dirty regressive man to, I'm like, you better get it, Nana. You better get it. But overall, I really thought it was well done, quite frankly. Even though this is my ongoing issue with Voyager. They get to the end, and I've been taking this writing class. I sound like staying on this segue, right? But I've been taking this writing class, and sometimes, you've been working on something. I know, right? You're working on something, and you're like, where you want to go, but you just don't have time before the assignment is due, so you just kind of wrap it up and don't really address some things. Voyager does that a lot for me. They just wrap up things, and everything's very nebulous a lot. And I felt like that here too. Although I think it worked better here with her, kind of connecting with the woman and her, the cycle starting over again. But the endings are always unsatisfying for me in Voyager. So, but overall, I thought this was really well done, to be honest.
I can't give it a thumbs up because this is clearly a TNG episode. We talked about it in the chat. Like this would have been good as like a later season Troy episode, like what's going on, like that sort of thing. I appreciate it as a B'Elanna episode. I like Joanne, I think the resolution is pretty lacking. It's just hard. This one was hard because I sit there going, this should have been weirder. It should have been darker. It should have been more this, more that, because it just feels like a leftover TNG episode. They just took a script out of a drawer, dusted it off, and changed some names around, and thought, okay, cool, let's get it filmed.
But I do like that it's B'Elanna that isn't a Klingon and isn't an engineer. Like it seems all of her episodes end up being. Yes. I'm a Klingon and I hate it, and I'm an engineer and I can fix that. Like it did. This at least gave her some range of like, oh yeah, or oh, I'm sorry, and also carrying Tom's baby. Like there's another
spoilers.
Sorry, but but that's what she gets pigeonholed into. Like it's just this at least gave her like, oh right, like because even the Maquis thing gets lost. Like we don't even.
I mean, I can appreciate that, but also if we're talking pigeonholed, I mean, and it could be a Troy episode. It's the same thing. It's an emotional invasion, and it just continues with. It's like that is the role of women on these shows. They're the receptacle for for these things. Now, I think the episode is important because it illustrates how insidious and fundamental rewritten history can become history, and how, you know, it's really dangerous if you do not stick to the path that you're on instead of whitewashing it and making it better, or just disseminating anything bad altogether. It just never happened. And so, and I think it also very subtly suggests that it is the elders that carry the most information. Young people running around fucking everything that walks, but it's the elders that actually carry, you know, and in our society right now, we're losing those elders that walked for civil rights. We're losing the elders that marched on Washington against Vietnam. We're losing that in terms of a verbal, accessible history where you could sit down with somebody and they could tell you about it. Now we're having history being completely, yeah, no, that didn't happen. Like Eisenhower saying, take pictures of Buchenwald, I think, because some motherfucker is going to say it never happened. So he made them take pictures, the journalists. This is what we're facing now. So in that sense, I thought it was a very good episode because in a much more lighthearted way, it addresses that tendency for us to color outside of the lines when we don't particularly like admitting what we have done as a race, things that we have done to others, things that have happened or we have allowed to happen. So, I mean, I liked it, but again, it would have been just as effective if it had been a woman person who was on the death march and one of the guys got invaded with a memory. Still, it's the same story, but less tits, I guess. So
I actually, on that topic, I don't mean to rewrite the episode because I know that's not our objective here, but I think it would have been much more powerful and could have even been done safely from a 90s perspective. Like, yes, fuck Rick Berman, but even Berman could have leaned into, if this same dream and memory were popping up across the crew, and suddenly Tuvok was standing there arguing with his father to save his lover, and it was always the same guy. Like they were all like, they were all experiencing it, but it was rotating through the crew. That would have taken away from Roxanne, which she did an impeccable job in this episode. But and to Matt's point, a B'Elanna episode that was about this woman named B'Elanna, not about her random characteristics or her culture. To me, that would have been a lot more interesting if this dream had been shared, if this memory had been passed to multiple members of the crew, both male and female. But the incredibly adorable gentleman who played the Inaran, in the memory was always the same actor, and it was just it was him playing that character over and over, and all these different memories would have been a lot of fun.
So I don't know if this is what you're saying, but what I'm hearing is that little old lady should have just done it to everybody.
Basically.
Okay. I agree. That could have made it more interesting. I know you're not actually suggesting that.
No, I was.
For the record, Trevor was not.
I was totally.
Or maybe was. Listen, bang everybody or bang nobody.
People don't fuck, Stanley. Is that what I'm saying?
That's not what anybody said, Krista.
Nana fucks a lot. We know that.
Well, no. So a couple of things. I agree with everything that's been said. I think Roxanne Dawson was underutilized in this show. And Matt, you're totally right. It like an engineer or annoyed about some Klingon bullshit that was never executed well. This was an excellent episode for her performance. I really enjoyed it. I do see the TNG-ness of it, but I think I think this is one that's better suited for a non-telepath, and I'm glad that it made its way to Voyager. I looked it up, and that actor was not Nana. Nana's dead.
Nana's dead.
No.
Nana's dead, and the actress who played Nana also dead. R.I.P. Fun fact: she was in Sister Act.
I was just like, well, then it was the Sister Act nun.
Yes,
Yes.
We are the little tiny one that gets to go. We are at one point. And she was in the wedding singer.
Yeah. I also like their little side note. I also like their little clitoris shaped instrument. That was cute. I'm like, you better play that clit.
Speaking of clits, show us the thumbs.
What does that have to do with
I don't know.
I love this episode. You're like, how the fuck would I know?
Sorry, Chris, I couldn't.
Audience, we got a tie.
Audience, first thumb breaks the tie. Nice job, Norman.
Norman's up. Okay.
Bro, my shit list, Norman.
Type faster, Joel. Type faster. Type faster. Season 3, Episode 7, Sacred Ground. Captain Janeway submits to purification in an attempt to save Kes when she is punished for trespassing at a sacred shrine. I object to the use of pronouns because it leads to a confusing description, but not a bad description of the episode. Joanne, I can think of no one better suited to kick this one off.
Yeah, absolutely in my wheelhouse. I will say the first time I saw this, however, whenever this was, and I absolutely hated it. Absolutely hated it. And I'm still not fond of it, but I appreciated the kind of themes. And like I said, this kind of trend I'm seeing with Janeway. Janeway does have a little bit of a hubris issue, right? That I don't think that I've ever noticed before, because I mean that was really kind of the core of it. She's going down. She knew she had the guide. Was supposed to meet a guy, and she's there in her tricorder. But not only just on her tricorder, she's like being rude, and that's not like their approach. Generally, right, when they land and they meet people, they're usually talking and walking around, but this time, for the sake of plot or whatever. But I would say she's out of character, but this little theme has been running since, again, she let the Ferengi go through the wormhole. But, just because she knows best, right? Janeway knows best or knows better. Is probably more accurate to say. But I also thought this was fascinating, like conceptually, because it's not really science or religion, it's science and religion. And that both of them are, equally valid, and that when the science stops, the mystery begins, and that there's no sort of tension, at least with the people, about that. I think that that's brilliant. I don't know if that was the author's intent, but I think it's brilliant. That you can introduce a society where people have fucking sense and method, and tangible results, but then when they get to the point where they don't know anymore or they can't explain any further, they just accept the mystery of the universe. Brilliant. But I found the spirits just annoying. I also didn't think the setup was good. Like, if this was so sacred and forbidden, why were there no people there? Why were there no attendants? It's just bad. You don't understand religion. You don't know how these things work. So bad kind of world building and people who don't understand mythology. You know what I mean? That would never happen. That's bad storytelling in my opinion. But, and Kes is all that, but whatever. But just the whole, ultimately, you have to believe in something. I posit everybody believes in something. Everybody worships something. Everybody has, something that they hold on to that grounds them. And I thought that this was, a very interesting way to tackle that. Again, I'm not kind of sure that, like I said, that was really what they were trying to get at. But and again, just the resolution, she kind of walks through, and then, the doctor's like, well, no, you did, and I did this and and she's just sitting there. Yeah, it's very scientific. I don't know. Poor resolution again, or weak resolution, in my opinion. But the concept, I thought was really very interesting. But yeah, I didn't like the old people spirits. So they were very Waldorf and Statler, very Muppets, very opera box kind of thing. So I get it. Yeah. But
I don't understand like this whole thing with her and her approach on this when she's already, because we've already gone through the one where Harry dies and gets transported, and like we had that beautiful moment where she's like, there's still so much we don't know. Like this like idea that she has this like faith side of her. And then when this, it's like nothing but cold, hard, like you said, hubris of trying to get, I'm a Starfleet captain, so I'm going to trust science, and I'm going to do like, at no point did she just go, you know what, maybe we should try. Like, maybe we go down this from a scientific perspective of like, you know what? Science isn't working. So then like, it seemed weird with how she like floundered around in it.
Not at all, though. Not really. Because when she says there's still so much we don't know, you don't know that what she intends by that is there's still so much we don't know that I haven't been able to like approach with the scientific method. Like she's very, it's very pragmatic the way that she approaches things. And I imagine that's ideal in a captain. You really don't want, you're not wanting, somebody overly ambiguous about the being able to make decisions and stuff. I want to push back a little bit on Norman when he said that woman wasted her time. I adored that woman. I loved that woman for the purpose of just providing Janeway exactly what she decided she was going to be provided. She was not open to the process at all. She imbued this woman with everything that she felt she was without ever once finding out who this person really was. Likewise with the Muppet hecklers. I found them to be interesting, and I mean, did they have to be old? Probably not. And it was rather Muppety, but the concepts that they were introducing, in order to learn, you have to be open to learning. In order to see something new, you have to open your eyes. There are some things of which you have to cleanse yourself of prior to entering the experience. Otherwise, the experience is a waste of time. The experience is lost on you, because any number of things can be learned, but you're only going to learn what your narrow scope allows you to learn. Very much like how you looked at us, like we were waiting for a train or something. I mean, it was really rude. She was rude. Joanne, you're right. She's like, oh, I'm going to go through this door. And they're like, yeah, I guess. I mean, it's like, and when she comes back around, it's funny because they're just looking at her like, how'd that door work out? I mean, I liked the episode because it made her, it humbled her. I don't know if it's a long-lasting humble, but it fucking humbled her. And she needed to be humbled. She needed to understand that just because you think you understand a thing doesn't mean you understand the thing. And when she got back to the ship and the doctor was like, well, this is how it all worked, and she walks away and she has a look, I think that was meant to impress upon the audience that, you know, when you remove the mystery of something, you take away some of the charm of it. You take away the beauty of it. You take away the art of it. You take away the soul of things when you just approach things in a very, you know, it is a combination, as Stan said. It's a combination of both. And if you lean one side or too far to the other, you lose the benefit of what you get with a dual application. That's all I'm saying.
Science teaches us how things happen. Faith teaches us why they happen. Confusion happens when one tries to do the other.
The conclusion of this episode is what Got it. It's giving me. I'm giving it up because the conclusion of you just have to accept things. It's sort of like the last episode where, like, if the truth endures, that's at least something. Here, it's you just got to accept this and humble yourself. I like the ending.
'Tis a thumbs up across the board, except we didn't see Will's thumb. William?
Don't like this episode.
Okay.
I
You
appreciate
lost
the
anyway.
conversation,
William
but I don't like
famously
it.
hates women, so that's not
It's
surprising.
okay.
Very true. Very true. That's why there's no women here.
But
That's why.
Season 3, episodes 8 and 9, Futures End Part 1 and 2. While attempting to stave off a captain who has come from the 29th century to destroy the Voyager, Janeway and crew are thrust into a spatial rift. Meanwhile, Tuvok and Paris, lost in present-day Los Angeles, enlist the aid of a young astronomer and terrible comedian who and use cellular technology to communicate with the Earth-orbiting Voyager, because that's the entire plot of episode 2. Anyway, Future's End. I think Matt should kick these off because time.
Do we have time to talk about time?
I do, despite my intoxication.
This is still, I mean, obviously, this is going to be no surprise to anyone. This is one of my favorite two-parters. I love a shtick of coming back to when we're filming. I know it's a budget cut. It's Sarah Silverman and this before she really, really becomes Sarah Silverman. Fantastic. Her playing with Tom is great. I love, we get a Vulcan that becomes a hippie, very a la The Voyage Home. There's just so much to love about these that it's not a serious episode by any means. Like, you're telling me that he was able to take over Voyager on like Windows 95. Like, okay. I liked that like parallel with, this is not Bill Gates, and Bill Gates is definitely, not the one who invented all this with future technology and all that kind of stuff. I think it's fun. I think we get a really fun vision of like what actual time travel would be like for this agency that he is part of, and they fuck up, his shuttle, and then everything goes to hell, and he's like, "You did this. If you just let me do my job." But he's also, establishes himself as a temporal captain right away, where it's like, oh yeah, to solve the timeline, let's just erase one of the most important ships to ever exist. Like, the whole thing doesn't make sense, but it's fun. It's a fun romp, like all Voyager is, if you just don't look at it too seriously. And this one, I actually think was a pretty good resolution at the end, like, for all things considered. And of course the Doctor gets his mobile emitter in this, and we finally get the MacGuffin of like, hey, he can finally, we can unchain Robert Picardo and he can like actually start doing things. And then of course the mobile emitter becomes,
This episode is what the showrunners of Strange New Worlds wish their ham-fisted ideas could spawn.
Yes.
Where like instead of saying they must have a mind meld and it doesn't need to make sense, they say we need to get the Doctor out of sick bay. Put together a fucking banger episode just for that. Like, I don't think that's the only thing that they decided to write this for, but I agree, Matt. I have a love-hate relationship with Starfleet being bad at their job plot lines, because there are many of them, including this guy being like, you know what? We detected Voyager at this accident, so
the debris, a piece of hull just happened to be here.
We're not going to investigate. I'm just going to come back to this random point in time and take you out.
Like, but the thing is, and obviously this is a small spoiler for like later in a later episode, but like, he's terrible at his job every time he comes up, and it's kind of great when it's like he's been hopping around the timeline for so long that he's like, I don't know what the hell to do anymore.
It becoming a bit later is fucking great.
He's terrible at his job, and his job isn't like managing a waste reclamation center. Like, he's in charge of time travel, and he sucks at it.
Timeline.
That feels troubling.
Daniel's
And only
in-
one person on that ship?
Yeah, it's a
One?
shuttle. He literally just takes a shuttle. So he took a shuttle, not even a full-time ship that we later find out exists in his timeline. That like he brought a little runabout and was like, "Nope, fuck you in particular."
This
Like,
episode sucks, you guys.
I love, but I will
Just
say
rip
one
apart. Kidding.
like a small touching thing for me is when I moved to LA, I was really wanting to go to. I had never been to Griffith's Observatory, and I will say when I finally got to go, it was like the perfect weather, perfect clear night. It was dark. You could see a bunch of stars. And walking up to Griffith Observatory as someone who loves this episode so deeply, and like looking and seeing like exactly where she ran out, and they jump on the like van, and the Ford F-150 comes tearing around and everything. That made me tear up. That was emotional for me. So I will
it turns
say,
out Sarah
Matt
Silverman
loves
actually
product
hangs
placement.
out at the observatory.
yeah, and Sarah Silverman was there. So
Right.
Yeah.
I liked when
Being
dude.
such a freakosaurus.
I liked when dude was being when he went back to his like unhoused area and he yells out post-industrial barbarians. I was like,
Cardassian barbarians. Yeah.
Yes.
Quasi
then
Cardassian.
pseudo closet
Quasi-Cardassian.
Cardassian fascists, and I was just like,
Yeah.
oh, he's my
Also,
favorite.
the
Yeah.
one scene on 21st century Earth where they couldn't be on location.
Yeah.
Like it's so
Right.
painfully obvious that it's just like
Yeah.
the corner of the set. It's
Yeah.
It's so I love this episode. I'm unapologetic about it. It makes no sense in so many ways. Like Henry Starling should never have been. Oh, and we get
That actor, yeah.
oh my god, I love him.
Ed Begley Jr.
Ed Begley Jr. can do no wrong in my book.
He's so good in so many things.
He was really good. I guess I normally like Sarah Silverman, but I couldn't stand her in this.
This is one of the few things I can stand her in. I
Hard-
don't. We need to be
I
very
don't like
careful
her.
for the
Oh.
YouTube of it all. But
I don't
yeah,
like her.
it's.
I don't like her.
She's purposely.
But in this episode, a real freakosaurus.
Show me your present thumbs for future tense.
That's fair.
Sideways.
I think the bottom row wins it.
It's fine.
The
For those of
bottoms
you-
take it.
For those of you who are math, as they are like apt to do, for those of you who are math wizards, I'm counting that episode twice. So don't come at me later. Season 3, episode 10, Warlord. As the Doctor and Kes treat 3 injured aliens, one dies, but his mind is transferred to the body of Kes. It's true. It happens. Krista, because this is another the problem is the woman, let's take over her body problem. I would love for you to kick off this conversation.
She pours more wine to start.
Yeah,
I mean,
fill
she
the
needs
glass
to.
girl.
She needs to pour it in all of these boxes so that we can all.
Okay, so here's the thing. All right. Aside from we're going to invade the consciousness, we're going to invade the consciousness of a woman, and we're going to do this as a man, and then she's going to be strong. What really pissed me off was when that initial interaction between Neelix and Kes, when she was like, "Not everything's about you. You're sort of smothering me, whatever." And I was like, "Oh well, hello, Mary. Thank you for showing up. It's about time we put some boundaries on this guy. And you're 2.5 years old. It's time to put your big girl pants on, and let's move on to some of the other men on the ship." And he was so stunned, and then we find out it isn't actually her saying any of this. It's this weird warlord guy who is entitled to something, and he wants to do I didn't understand the relationship with his girlfriend. Like, was she leaving him? Was she staying with him? It all seemed very like toxic triad. I was just, like the whole storyline, I was like, I'm over the idea that these female characters get some kind of agency beyond being sexually objectified or whatever, but only when they're invaded by the spirit of a male warlord or whatever. Only when they're not acting in their own capacity. That said, she did a great job distinguishing between being herself and then being this character wearing her as a flesh suit. Just the intonations, the way the voice changed. Again, it was an opportunity to kill Neelix. They didn't do it. I wish that they had done it. Cass, just let me get near her and I can make everything okay. They're popping things on everybody's faces. It was all a little, I don't know, second-born spare, very upset that the firstborn is the automatic heir. That kind of stuff was secondary to me. I think she was really the standout. But again, the only thing that truly caught my attention was her ability to clearly distinguish between the two characters in her presentation, and her telling Neelix to like back the fuck off. Only one of those things lasted. I think listen, the women are
the women.
Blame women.
Glug glug, Krista, you are correct. Drink up. I am with you.
I just don't know what else to say.
They always posit the little casual kind of homophobia with the women too. Like, I don't know that this is going to work out now because things are changing. It's giving very Beverly Crusher, right? And Odon, like, oh, things are changing too fast. You know, that's a recurring theme in this generation of Trek.
Doesn't she kiss Tuvok in this too?
She kisses a lot of people. I mean, here's the thing.
It wasn't clear if I can't remember because I didn't get to this episode today. Because I ran out of time.
She kisses the girlfriend. She kisses the second son brother. She makes a move on Tuvok. She's very.
But it was all the.
And then she has a throuple, like the resolution to her wife is like, I'll get a man for you, and then we'll be into all of it.
I want us all to be very, very close. And
so the Warlord was pan. That's queer representation.
The Warlord thought himself a god, really, and that's kind of like that was kind of like a quickly sidelined concept, but thought himself to be a god. And I think one of the characters said he'd always acted as though he was a god. And when you think of the gods, not God, but like the gods in plural, they were fucking swans. They were doing whatever they wanted to do. They were making babies all over the place. And
not the swans.
It's like they do whatever they want. Lead in the swan, and they
not in front of my salad.
They did whatever they want, and I think that was his basic character. So the irony is that he is put into the most genteel, the most passive, the most almost, like I would argue, subjugated female on the ship. Mm-hmm. That is what gets put into her. And for that alone, it was interesting because immediately she's like, Neelix, you need to step off. And also, I'm going to be with these two, and I might have a side thing with you. Also, world domination. And also, I'm going to kill my brother. And all of this is I mean, it was like boom, boom, boom. So if anything, that was it. It's interesting. But again, it would have been just as interesting if it had been, a Seska level, viciousness. into one of the male characters. How often in these series does a male character become invaded?
Mm-hmm.
Not
often enough.
Like emotionally and right? It just doesn't happen. It's like somehow.
Yeah, this episode was season 27 of The Young and the Restless in 42 minutes. It was a lot. It was a lot.
I also struggled with Kes again at the end because again, so when she has that little, tete-a-tete with Tien, or I don't know what his name is. I'm just making shit up. Kyran, no, that's the drag performer. Whatever his name was, they. She's like, you know what? You don't underestimate me again. I'm gonna fuck your shit up. I'm gonna do all. She was very resolute, right? And she does all this like, I'm gonna wear you down. And then at the end, she's there with Tuvok, and she can't find her pee. She can't get into the zone. She's like, I guess she's overcome, I guess, because, she did all this killing or whatever. I don't know. It was just like you found this little moment of, like Krista said, it's problematic where they're always invading her. But this invasion you found a little moment of kind of self-determination and agency and resoluteness. But then now at the end, you're just like, oh, you can't even center yourself anymore because you're just so upset that you had to do all this killing. It was just, I had such a problem with that.
But that moment occurred in a sleep state. So it even undermines it exists, but it exists in more of an imaginary arena versus like an actual awake agency arena. It occurred while he was sleeping, meaning had he been conscious in her flesh suit, she would not have been she wouldn't have been strong enough. That's the unspoken message there. He had to be asleep for her to assert herself. And in only brief moments was she able to assert herself throughout. But really it depended on him being somehow incapacitated. And again, it's like, it's like, well, what were you wearing? I was wearing a mini skirt, motherfucker. What? I mean, it's
she actually was.
Yeah. The reset button also fucks with this episode the way that it does with other Voyagers, because like this should have had an impact on this character, and like Kes getting the taste for killing and wanting to do it again. Like, let's go. Let's fucking go, Kes. Murder spree.
No spoilers. There's an episode late in the season that sort of changes the character arc. It would have been more interesting had it happened here. To your point, Stan, and your point, Krista, and your point, Joanne. Show me your thumbs. Show me your thumbs for Warlord, please. Oh, I'm the only one. All right, it's fine. I love you guys even when you're wrong. Okay, season 3, episode 11, The Q and the Gray. Q returns to Voyager with the announcement that he's chosen Captain Janeway to be the mother of his child. Nothing else happens in this episode.
Madam Captain. It was noted last week with the first Q episode of Death Wish how sexist Q is.
For no fucking reason. Why?
Yeah. That said, I missed the opportunity to talk about how fucking funny it was for him to be like, is this a ship of the Valkyries? Like, the way he dances between sexist and kind of funny, but still sexist is something only John Delancey can bring
to the
table.
He's super gay, but his sexism makes no sense because he's not a boy. Like, it...
Right.
What? Anyway, Krista, did you have any thoughts on this one, given what we've just queued up for you? See what I did there?
Anybody want to have sex?
Here's the thing.
Don't tell. We've all just made children.
You remember that time where I said my dream episode would be when we sent them all to Woodstock?
Yes.
This is why. Let's not send anybody back to the Civil War. Let's not
literally anyone
glorify the Civil War.
No one needs to go back to the...
Let's not like do false equivalencies between some imaginary continuum of immortal, all-knowing, omniscient beings and the fucking Civil War. Let's not wear petticoats. Let's not negotiate. Let's not do any of this. Let's also not suggest that mating, I would like to mate, like as a verb, is like a normal way to approach anything, unless you're into animal husbandry. Here's my point. He couldn't just say, I would like for you to come with me down south and have my baby and ignore my redheaded Q wife. And again, the fixation with redheaded women on this show could be a whole nother show. But that said, everybody's losing their power. I need to mate, verb, and I'm going to choose Janeway with her FDLS hair, and we're gonna sweep her out of here and take her back to the Civil War. And it's I just there's so much wrong with all of the imagery, all of the choices, all of the verbiage, all of the everything. And also, I don't appreciate that we have a female captain. And at the time, this was the first female captain. And she is, for better or worse, in this episode, reduced to a baby making machine or a petticoat wearing, she's exchanged her pantsuit for a petticoat. And this is what we're dealing with. And I just don't understand. I can't.
This episode has a lot of opportunities and they fail miserably at its execution.
It was the mid-90s. It was the mid-1990s. They had literally...
They could have gone to Studio 54.
Thousands of years. They had thousands of years of
Live. They
conflict.
Anything
that they could have chosen, but they chose the U.S. Civil War because that's what the Q, an omnipotent species who've existed across space and time, decided made sense to represent their conflict. And let's be honest, nothing about their conflict mimicked the actual issues within the Civil War. Nothing about the Q.
Well, it would be one thing if you go back to the Civil War and you're accepting of the fact that the reason for the Civil War was that there was a certain portion of the country that predicated their own economic and political gain on the subjugation and work product of others while raping them and enslaving them and giving them and like. But if you want to address
over like all that,
yeah. Let's accept the history of it first, but let's not.
Yes, that had nothing to do with the Q's conflict.
That had nothing to do with it. Yeah. And it's like, well, we've got these outfits. So and we've got these tents. So we'll put some, like, none of it made sense.
And you could have put everyone in the exact same outfits with the exception of like the little logo on the hat and just made it the Revolutionary War if you really needed to make it an American thing. You picked the Civil War.
Yeah. The more I think about it, the more this episode's execution is actually just deeply offensive.
Hugely offensive.
I think at the risk of losing the opportunity to promote this episode later, we did not punish the Confederacy hard enough after the Civil War. That there are monuments to this day is deeply offensive to me as an American. They were traitors. They were evil people defending slavery.
It's exactly what led to the Electoral College.
And using that imagery in a television show, a Star Trek television show, even in the 1990s, to gloss over our history in that way, to just be like a funny ha, let's get the first female captain pregnant with this omniscient whatever. Like even Susie Plaxon can't save this episode, because I fucking love me some Susie Plaxon. And I would love the I'm not talking about the dog in any other context, because she fucking chews up that line. But you can't take it out of the context of a cat fight between two women on the first Star Trek show with a female captain. And then we go into the Civil War without, like, they kind of brush aside of like, this is how your minds could understand it, like they did in Death Wish. This is how you can conceptualize the continuum of a dusty road. That these 24th century humans would conjure that is deeply problematic. Like it same as the caretaker thinking that preamble to a Klan rally would make them comfortable before getting probed, says some deeply problematic things about the crew of Voyager if we were to take this as it's presented, which is, of course, fuck Rick Berman, fuck Brandon Braga, and fuck these mostly male, all white writers of this show. This episode is deeply offensive, and they had an interesting concept, which is hard to do with the Q, because it gets old real quick.
The irony of approaching the captain and saying, I would like to impregnate you, basically. I'm going to use you to further my cause. Juxtaposed against a civil war of Southern society, which made that pretty much the cornerstone of every day. They viewed human beings as animals. They viewed human beings as things that were not subject to consideration, to laws, to any kind of anything that they would apply to themselves. They were subhuman. And so what's deeply offensive to me is that the approach is exactly the same. And it was almost like, well, let's do the Civil War in case they don't really get what we're trying to say. Like, I get where you're going here. And in no year is this going to be cool. And it's deeply offensive because it takes particular groups of people, particular people sharing ethnic and gender backgrounds, and it diminishes them. It dehumanizes them. And it does so for comic laughs.
Yeah. I learned something interesting at the Academy Museum here in LA recently that I didn't know, because productions that depict Nazis, they will immediately destroy all of the imagery that they create for their production. They won't even like hold it over to give to somebody else for the off chance that it might get stolen, might get used, misused. The same level of, no, that's just pure evil understanding that we have for that any reasonable person, although not nearly enough in 2026, have for Nazis need to also be applied to the Confederacy. Pure evil defense of slavery is not something anybody can do. It's not heritage. It's just defending evil and putting it even putting it in a Star Trek show is just fucked up.
Especially if you're putting it in a Star Trek show and choosing not to address it.
Yes.
The most offensive thing about this analogy is that the pinnacle lesson that should have been learned for all of humanity from the conflict had nothing to do with the episode and was not addressed at all. It was just, what happens if two people disagree?
That's
representing the Union
fine.
as some kind of the Union Army as some kind of radical and revolutionary is also problematic and not historically accurate either. The Union was just as was about maintaining the status quo more than they were not revolutionaries. They were not radicals. So it just, problems across the board, blue and gray, right?
Yeah. The Union was not seeking to liberate.
Yeah. For all those reasons, it's a thumbs up. No, I'm kidding. Should we do our thumbs? Or Will, you were going to make a point?
I was gonna say it's just kind of weird because like I remember like in the 90s there was this kind of odd trend of like just across like entertainment where there was a lot of things dealing with the 60s and with slavery kind of happening at the same time. And it's like none of them are really handled with any sort of care. Like you can tell like from DS9 how Avery Brooks had real issues with depicting the 60s and the jazz era and these things where he was like, people like me were not treated well. Like there's a consciousness that he brought to it that this episode, there wasn't a person of color who kind of mentioned that maybe this might be a little offensive or stood up for that. So it's weird because it's like there was just this weird moment in the 90s where I felt like there were so many in my brain. There were so many times where we kept revisiting that. And like, this is a trend episode, but like, it sucks that we didn't address any of it. It's just kind of played for laughs. It's just gross now. It's gross and hard to watch.
It's the played for laughs that's most offensive, really.
And there are persons of color in this episode who have made it a point to make comments and ignore real problems, Roxanne Dawson, that are really problematic and disturbing. That being said, that was a giant thumbs down for Q and the Gray. We're almost there. Season 3, episode 12, Macrocosm. An alien macroviral life form seizes Voyager and disables the ship. And the Doctor goes on his first mission. No, he doesn't. Also, we apparently skipped over Janeway's guns. I don't know why. It should be part of every summary of this episode from now until the end of time. But let's dive into Macrocosm in a little more depth than just my rants. Stan, would you like to kick off your thoughts about this episode?
Listen, I love me some action hero Janeway. Like that alone is getting this episode a thumbs up for me. Fucking the Doctor getting to go on an away mission and being overzealous. It's cute. Like getting him the mobile emitter. I think they did it at the right season at the right time. Like now he can do other things, and they're using it well in this episode. Man, was CGI interesting in the first couple of seasons of Voyager. TNG CGI, I think, was perfect for the episodes that they told. Like, I don't recall much that was like as cheesy as some of the early Voyager CGI. Some horrific conspiracy stuff. Genesis practical makeup stuff was super fun, but I wish they went practical for the organism, but other than that, this episode was fucking great.
Having lived in Florida and having been there at the time that this episode was revealed, it's basically just running from mosquitoes. Mosquitoes take over Voyager. They're attacking Captain Janeway. She shoots them with the only appropriate weapon. Yeah, I love the concept. I don't know that the science bores out, but it's a fun concept.
The science makes absolutely no sense.
Janeway as Ripley is kind of the everything of this episode. I actually wish it hadn't been a CGI enemy that she was battling to Stan's point, but I also wish it hadn't been a macro virus that she was guns out for. Like, put her in the tank top and let her beat some motherfuckers up. Like, it doesn't have to be a CGI macro organism. Anyway.
I think this is just a good action show. Like, this was just good. There's not a lot of depth to it. There's not a lot of like, it's just Janeway guns out, like backpack running around the ship. We get a lot of good ship shots. Like,
the only thing it needed was like a good, like, cheesy line from her, like, pest control is on duty, or something stupid.
The organism should have gotten near an incubator or a bed that had like with a force field that had the baby inside. I don't know that the baby's been named, so I don't want to spoil things for Kristen.
Problematic baby.
And then Janeway shows up and just says, "Get away from her, you bitch!" And then shoots her. Just go full Ripley.
Or she goes crawling through the Jeffrey tubes with the baby in the backpack. I mean, my husband was like, "Are you watching the show?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Why are you reading your phone?" I was like, "This is the Die Hard portion. This is going to go on for like 30 minutes."
And it does.
It went on for like 30 minutes, and then for 15 minutes, we got the rest of the story. And I was fine with it. She's in great shape, and I think that I think it's important to check yourself, because God knows the male captains get this all day long. They get the water sprayed on the muscles. They get the whole. I mean, Picard in the movies is like jacked.
First Contact, when he's like
just completely jacked and covered in oil. It's like, okay, so fair play. They let her do it, and what was really great is that Mulgrew is believable. She's believable in it, which, I don't know that everybody would be believable in it, but she was believable, and I think, for fair play, they pulled it off. But they pulled it off for 35 minutes, leaving 15 minutes for the actual story. It was fine. I'm glad they did it.
Does my memory fail me, or does she grab a phaser rifle from engineering?
Yes.
Was that fucking weird to anyone else?
She right outside the warp core. Right outside the warp core. Just in a trunk that she apparently had difficulty opening. I could see that being a blooper. Like 4 times this fucking thing. What? And then finally she got it open, and
literally
she put the problematic baby in there. She is going.
Any other room on the ship, why is there a trunk of phaser rifles in engineering? Anyway.
No, I like the idea that B'Elanna just has that trunk up there in case they get boarded. She's like, no, fuck
she
it.
Does.
And she just like...
Remember in the Trajector episode, she's got one like right around the corner with easy access.
Like a hand phaser, sure. But like a trunk, but anyway. The trunk that we never see again, correct?
Literally, yeah.
She never
see it before that and never see it after.
Show me your thumbs. I really like this one. It's
so good. It's so campy and fun.
It's all right.
Thumbs out, guns out. What?
I know. Come on. Okay, hold on.
And last but not least, coming across the finish line for this episode of Voyager Thumb Wars, Season 3, Episode 13, Fair Trade. Neelix meets up with Wixabon, who cons Neelix into using Federation shuttlecraft to traffic in narcotics.
God, just fucking kill him!
I would love it if I could take Talaxians more seriously if they weren't named Neelix and Wixabon. Anyway, Will, drag this episode, please.
Yeah, exactly.
William.
Or don't.
No, I thought... Anyway. Yeah, God. How could they create a character more annoying than Neelix? Like,
They named him Wixabon.
Wixabon.
Well, Star Trek does have this annoying tendency of making all races one thing. So
yeah. I surprised that no one hated this. I was like, Neelix is an opportunity to create kind of an interesting character, but I would say that they did it better with Garrick, where you get someone who's kind of this character who's kind of whimsical but has kind of a dark past, and like he was a traitor and did some like horrible things or whatever, but he's kind of just like, this is like it. Yeah, I agree with Norman. This should have been an episode that should have happened earlier, like a season 2 episode, and it probably might have been, who knows. But yeah, the Talaxians are super annoying. It's like, how did they become spacefaring? How were they ever part of anything? Because they're just these goofy little fucking weird Muppet characters, and you're just like, I can't stand them. I don't think there was. I don't want to be too mean, but I didn't think there was anything redeeming about this episode from beginning to end. It was just hard to watch, deeply annoying. Thinking that I hated this, hated with like a passion that is equal to 1,000 suns. Anytime Neelix is on screen, I'm immediately turned off. And watching this, you will all be sued for compensation. So this was terrible.
I don't understand how season 3 of Star Trek Voyager doesn't know how to make a dark kind of edgy space station when they're literally in the middle of running a series on a dark and edgy space station. Like, why is it so hard to make this scary looking when it just looks like an unfinished soundstage with a smoke machine? Like, it looks like they went to what's that horrible store in the mall and just like bought a smoke machine and brought it home.
Spencer's Gifts.
That's the one.
With the
join us next week with an episode sponsored by Spencer Gift. Like, what? It's just bad. Anyway,
I think I mostly resent the fact that by season 3 they think, the powers that be think that they have earned my interest in Neelix.
Oh, just wait.
They feel like they fucking earned it. Like it's just there. And I swear to God, if there is one more episode that is centered around Neelix feeling important, or Neelix speaking in hyperbolic, grandiose terms about his accomplishments or the things that he does or whatever. I know they tried to do some kind of, they do this random self-awareness with him, but I think the most offensive thing about the character is the writing room's absolute certainty that they have earned my interest in the character. And they absolutely have not. To make it clear, not then, because I didn't watch it, and certainly not now, because now I am watching it. And no, never.
Yeah, he's overused for sure. And like the character needed this episode to happen because he was the guide. That's why he was put on the ship. And to Norman's point earlier, like, yeah, this episode should have come earlier because they've been beelining it home now for 2 years. And somehow he still had relevant knowledge until just now, and the Talaxians are all the way out here. Some Talaxians are all the way out here. It's the same issue with the Kazon. Like, they needed to not be running into the same alien cultures as often for as long as they did, and the character could have had more potential. Yeah. And the character could have had more potential. And like Norman noted in the chat, twice in this episode of the Salon, there was a scene cut with a breakup a couple episodes ago, and then a scene cut from this episode where like a more clear cut, they broke. Like next week, we're going to talk about some episodes where it's like, oh, wait, she's not with Neelix anymore because of other things that happen. And here, like, there are opportunities to make this character interesting, and like the breakup being why, like, part of his spiral, like like not in a blame women way, but in a like I'm sad and like people do stupid shit when they're sad. I can speak to that personally. Like there's a lot of opportunities on this show, and even with this character that I also hate, he'll have some interesting things happen later, some decent episodes. They move his character in a direction that I think helps a little bit, but overall just no.
This
No.
episode centrics always just are so after school special. Like a valuable lesson was learned by everyone. It's let's tell the truth. It's okay.
Yeah, because somebody said a while ago, "Oh, this was the last Neelix being jealous episode," and I'm like, "You're a liar! No, no, he's terrible. He's terrible. He's terrible."
So the 1986-87 description, the initial character Bible before they went in a different direction in TNG when the show was being conceived, Geordie LaForge was depicted as being blind and wearing the visor, but was to be the school teacher for the ship's children. That would have been that is my argument for making Voyager a slightly larger vessel with a slightly more interesting crew, because that would have been the role Neelix should have filled. It would have been interesting to visit him interacting with children and apparently and randomly dealing with, listen, red alerts are scary. Let me tell you what, there was a way to go. You depicted this person as very romper room and very comedic. So just stick to it, because every time you try to do something serious, it fails. And this is an example, because to Krista's point, the lesson is very juvenile, but it's supposed to be dark and serious, and the two don't connect. It's a thumbs down for me, dog.
Yeah.
It's unanimous. And that's it
Trevor.
for part 1 of season 3. Yes, Daniel.
Speaking of thumb wars,
yes,
I want to make a quick announcement before I ask a favor of you, if you don't mind. For the next 2 weeks, so everybody is aware, you get your Salon early. If you've been with us for over 2 hours for this episode, it's rare, but sometimes it happens. For this rough half season, we had a lot to talk about. If you've been with us this long and you're just like, man, I want more. Number 1, Monday, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, Will and I will be playing the next sector of Star Trek Voyager Across the Unknown. And the Salon's going to be early. Next Tuesday, May 12th, we will finish out season 3. And Tuesday, May 19th, we'll be starting season 4. And then we will be back to our regular Thursday time. But for the next 2 weeks, we will be saloning on Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m. Pacific in all of the same places, but at a slightly different time. Trevor.
Yes, dear. For season 3, part 1 of Star Trek Voyager, we gave 4 thumbs ups, 7 thumbs sideways, and 2 thumbs downs. So again, leaning a little meh/positive on this weird ass season that I think will get better next week, but we shall see. I didn't give. There were 8 problematic gay alerts, 1 Bev alert, 1 problematic ally alert. Stan said whip work 3 times. Krista changed the question once. Stan landed a segue once in the pre-show, and Joanne took us to church 1 time, also in the pre-show. There are similarities between the two. I gave 74,565 bonus points to Krista for clocking problematic babies and highlighting the importance of convenience stores. I gave 3,000 bonus points to Will for being unafraid to thumb it solo from time to time. I gave 69,000 bonus points to Matt for having lots in common with Intrepid class shuttle base. I gave 300,000 bonus points to Joanne for attachments. I took away 100 bonus points to 2 bitch-ass Ferengi for being bitch-ass Ferengi. I gave 500 bonus points to automatic toilets for flushing whether Stan is ready or not. It's your journey, girl. I gave all of the bonus points to Benji for Tom's Dick and Harry. I give 1,000,000 bonus points to Jennifer Lean for being better than the writing, 500 bonus points to the Muppets for making 2 surprise appearances in this episode, 199 bonus points to Majkala actor Anthony DeLongis for titillating Stan in ways that no one saw coming, 20,000 bonus points to Nana for getting it across the franchise, and last but not least, no bonus points to Krista's neighbors because you fucking don't deserve them.
They're so loud.
Friends, we did it. We're halfway through season 3. We will be back next week at a new temporary time, Tuesday, May 12th, 6:30 p.m. Pacific. Monday, Will and I at 5:30 p.m. Pacific, playing Across the Unknown. All Voyager, all the time. And until then, live long and prosper.
All hands abandon ship. Proceed to the nearest evacuation zone immediately.